All right, welcome to the first Powers of Madness podcast here for YouTube. I'm Zane. We're going to tell you who we think are the top 16 teams. We're going to update it twice a week. And we'll just jump right into it. We'll talk, say who our first seed is, and then just kind of move down from there and say a little bit about each team, I guess. All right. My number one overall seed is Duke. I think that they've shown that they're going to be a tough out. I think they have the best player in the tournament, Cooper Flagg. And I think even though their conference is probably the weakest major conference, I think that they've shown consistently that they're the best team in the country right now. Who do you got?
I got Auburn. I think they have the best player in the nation, Broom. I think they're going to reward Auburn for playing in the toughest conference.
Okay. We'll see. We'll kind of see what happens. Both of these teams obviously are still going to have some tests before you get to the tournament, even if that isn't until their conference tournament. Duke doesn't play the top teams in the ACC until the conference tournament. Auburn obviously is going to play somebody tough the rest of the regular season, and then they'll get is it a double bye in the SEC tournament? I think that they'll get, and obviously every game they play in the SEC tournament is going to be tough. So. All right, who do you got second?
I got Duke.
Okay, and I have Auburn. So, two interchangeable teams there. Again, we've already talked about both of those teams and kind of what we think about them. All right, number three.
Number three, I got Houston.
I have Houston too. I think that Houston should be rewarded being the top team from the Big 12. Houston's shown not just in Big 12 play, but through their early season struggles, getting past that they're going to be a team that's going to be reckoned with. When it comes to March, and Houston still has some things to prove. They've got tough regular season games left, and then they'll have every game they play in the Big 12 tournament will be tough as well. So they'll have a double bye in the Big 12 tournament. They've already clinched no worse than a share of the Big 12 title. I think that they'll win that outright as well. Okay, number four overall. This is, I think, from here on out, we may be a lot different.
Yeah, I took Bama.
Okay.
But I think whoever wins between Bama and Florida when they play in March is going to have the last one seed.
Okay. I have Florida, and I agree with you. Whoever makes it out between those two teams is probably going to get that last spot. The depth of the SEC is probably going to be the reason that they're going to have multiple number one seeds in the tournament. And I agree with you. Right now, I feel like Florida should get the nod, kind of because of where they're at. But Florida and Alabama, to me, are so close neck and neck. Now, my rankings aren't going to show that because I think that Bama has some flaws, and it's mostly because defensively. I think Bama allows a lot of points, so that could come to hurt them when it comes to March, because I think the teams that rise above the crop in March are ones that can not only play offense but also get stops on defense. All right. So now we're kind of moving into what would be considered two seeds. I just numbered mine 1 through 16. I know that you have more of a bracket type with seeds at least. Who do you have as top number 2 seed?
I got Florida.
I'm going to throw a wrench in things here. I've got St. John's as the number 5 team right now because I think and this is going to go back, this is going to sound so old school, but I think that there should be some reward for winning your conference. I know that the Big East, like the ACC, has been down this year. But I think there should be some reward for St. John's in winning the Big East. And I think that they're good. They've got a good coach, and I think they're going to go a long ways in March. So that's why I think number 5 overall, St. John's. And you had Florida. Okay, who I had number 4, so it's pretty interchangeable. All right, the 6 overall, your second number 2 seed.
Tennessee.
Okay, I've got Michigan State. Again, I'm going conference loyalty here. I think that Michigan State is the best team in the Big Ten. I know that that's probably still to be settled, but I think that Michigan State's going to end up being I think they're going to end up winning at least the regular season title for the Big Ten. And I think that their reward should be being a top 2 seed.
I mean, we saw in the first reveal that the committee really likes the SEC, so that's why I already have 4 out of the 6 are SECs. And when they did the first reveal, it was 5 out of the first 6.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so third, number 2 seed, number 7 overall.
I took Wisconsin.
Okay.
Because we saw in the first reveal, they also really liked Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't, since the reveal, they've lost like 1 game, I think.
Okay. This is where I put Tennessee. So they're my third SEC team. I put Tennessee ahead of Alabama, which I guess you did too. Is that right?
No. I put Bama.
Oh, yeah, you had Bama as a 1 seed. I think that Tennessee is better than Alabama just because they can play better defense. And I think that that's going to be key down the stretch. So my third number 2 seed would be Tennessee. 8th overall, which would be the last 2 seed, who do you have?
This is where I put Michigan State.
Okay. So you have Michigan State and Wisconsin pretty close to each other. This is a stretch, but I think that we're hopefully going to see our boys going around. I have Texas Tech as the 8th overall. When you look at Kim Palm and the net rankings, Texas Tech is right there. I know that in the rankings that were put out by the committee, it's going to be hard for Tech to rise up to a 2 seed. If Chance McMillan and Darion Williams get healthy, I think that this team could end up in San Antonio, depending on their draw in the tournament. If they're in, this is the only way that I don't see Texas Tech getting to Houston is if they're in the same bracket as Duke and Auburn. If they're in Duke or Auburn's bracket, I think that those teams could probably beat Tech. But I think that Tech can beat any of the rest of the teams that are in here if they're healthy. And that's going to be a big if going into March because we haven't seen them healthy since the first part of February when they beat Houston on the road. They weren't even full strength, and that was without JT Toppin. Okay, so first 3 seed overall, who do you got?
Got Texas A&M.
Okay.
Even though they've dropped a few, I think the committee still likes them. I mean, they were like the first 2 seed the first time they did it, so.
Okay.
Still 3 seed.
This is where I put Alabama. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you I don't have Texas A&M in my top 16. I think that there's some other SEC teams that are better than them. And then we'll just see what I did at the rest of the bottom. But this is where I put Alabama as the number 9 team in the nation. So number 10, I'll go first. I put Arizona here. I think by what Arizona has done in the Big 12, where they've been consistent, and Arizona's still going to have some proving. They go on the road to play at Iowa State. Is that on Saturday, or is it next Saturday? I know that they play Iowa State coming up on the road, and they're obviously going to have to prove it in the Big 12 tournament. I think a neutral site matchup between them and Texas Tech is going to be wild. I think a neutral site matchup between them and Houston will be great. And we'll see what they do on the road at Iowa State. I think that they're going to win on the road at Iowa State. Who do you have?
This is where I put St. John's at.
Okay. So, I mean, we both had St. John's in the top 10. You had them 10th. I had them 5th. We'll see what how the committee rewards them for winning the Big East.
But just gonna say, this is not what I think it should.
Okay.
This is what I think the committee's gonna do.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
But I don't have an Arizona in this because I don't think Arizona's that good either.
Okay. All right. Who do you have as your third 3 seed then?
I have Michigan. That's my third 3.
Okay.
Because they were in the first. I think they were in the first reveal, and since then they've only lost to Michigan State.
Okay. I would have them in my just missed category. I really thought about putting them at 15, and then I decided to do something else. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I think Michigan is really good, and I could definitely see them in it for sure. Big win for them last night. I do think
Lamari Burnett saved them from being instead of a 4 or instead of a 3, they'd be a 4 if he didn't hit that shot.
Former Texas Tech players battling for Michigan and Black Golden and Lamari Burnett for sure. Okay, did I say mine in this spot? I don't think I have. I have Iowa State there. I have Iowa State and Arizona 10-11. I think whoever wins between them on Saturday, even though it's at Iowa State, or whenever they play, I don't know if it's Saturday. Whenever those two teams play, I think could kind of flip-flop things.
I would have had Iowa State in my 3 if they didn't lose to OSU.
Yeah, that was a big loss.
Bad loss.
For sure. Your last 3 seed.
Kentucky.
Okay.
Because, I mean, they've had a lot of huge wins. The committee's going to see that 3-game losing streak. Like, they were out 2 starters, and then they finally get them back, and they win. So, and they also have a lot of big wins non-conference, and I think they're going to award it.
Kentucky does have a good body of work. I didn't have Kentucky in mind. I would categorize them in my just missed category as well. My last 3 seeds that's where I put Wisconsin. Again, I think Wisconsin is close to where Michigan State is, even though I have Michigan State at 6 and Wisconsin at 12. I think, again, there's still a lot of basketball to be played. And those teams could very well face each other in the Big Ten championship, and whoever wins between them could be the higher seed. It could even them up on the same seed line, depending on what type of games played between those two teams. All right, so let's move to the number 4 seed. So who's your first number 4 seed?
That's where I put the Red Raiders.
Okay.
I mean, they were a 4 seed. I think this is the same exact spot they were in the first reveal, and I think the committee's gonna see how they played against Houston with having 2 starters out. I don't see them going down to a 5. I mean, they had 1 bad loss to TCU, and since then they've took care of business.
Yeah, and I guess what we found out from that TCU game is Chance McMillan he had some type of a foot injury in that game, and again, that's why I think it's so important to see Texas Tech at full strength. If they can get back to full strength, they're going to be the type of team that went on the road and won at Houston, which I would put Houston up against anybody else in the country. So definitely so. My first number 4 seed was Missouri. I think that they've played good basketball this season, but I think that they've shown in a tough SEC. I think that they're going to end up being a better team than Kentucky. And so I know that's this similar to the spot where you had Kentucky. I think Missouri's a little bit better. My next number 4 seed, number 14 overall, this is where I put Maryland. I think, again, Maryland's shown that they're in that same kind of spot as Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Michigan. They're definitely one of the 4 best teams in the Big Ten. The Big Ten's going to have, maybe 10 teams in the tournament, depending on who you look at and kind of what you think and it'll depend on how Maryland finishes as well. But I can definitely see Maryland being one of those top 4 seeds. Who do you have in that spot?
That's where I put Iowa State at.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if they're in the first. Yeah, they were definitely in the first round. They were a 3 seed. They have battled through injuries, but I think a lot of people still have them at a 3 seed. But I mean, at some point, injuries just can't be an excuse. Like, they got to get healthy, and I think they're at a 4. I don't think they'll fall to a 5, but I just don't think they deserve a 3.
Okay, who do you have as the third, 4th seed, which would be 15th?
Missouri.
Okay.
It's a team I think can go on a Final Four run if they get the right path.
Yeah, they've looked good, and that's why I have them at 13. Both of us have them as a 4 seed. This is where I put Louisville. Louisville's this right now is the second best team in the ACC. They're 15-2 in the ACC, I think, and they're gonna go 18-2. They're gonna finish 18-2, and I think that they are a team that you don't want to play at this point in the season. I think that they're going to make a run, and I think that they're going to be rewarded for being the second place team in the ACC.
Well, they're definitely not the second best team. I don't think. I think this is where my last 4 seed I put Clemson. It's my hot take. I mean, oh wait,
I put Clemson in the last spot too.
I thought that Louisville was your last spot.
No, they were. 15.
Oh, well, Clemson's my last
Yeah.
spot. I think they're the second best team. Saw them beat Duke. Saw them make an Elite 8 run last year. And, I mean, they're just... I think they slipped up maybe once or twice in ACC play against a bad team. So, I mean, they're just taking care of business. They look good to me.
I agree, and that's why I have them in the same spot that you do. Both Louisville and Clemson are going to finish 18-2 in the ACC. I don't think that either one of those teams is going to lose a game the rest of the regular season. And it's going to depend on, I think, whoever wins between these two teams, because they're going to play each other probably in the semifinals of the ACC tournament, because they'll be the 2 and 3 seeds. Louisville will be the 2 seed, I think, because they beat Clemson head-to-head during the season. I don't know where that game was, if it was in the Yum Center or in Clemson, but I think the winner of those two of whoever wins between those two teams in the ACC tournament, and it maybe if somehow whoever wins between those two teams pulls off an upset against Duke in the championship, which they could, I mean, it'd be tough, then I don't know that they'll move up higher than a 4 seed, but they'll definitely be a top 4 seed. That's just my take.
I don't know. I don't know about Louisville. I don't think they're going to be I think they'll be like a 6 seed.
Well, I know that you didn't write this down, but let's talk about a few teams that neither one of us put in. I think that one of them that could possibly find their way up into the top 16 that neither one of us mentioned is St. Mary's. The other one could be Gonzaga. It's going to be Gonzaga in the net, and then Ken Palm is top 10. But I think that St. Mary's is going to win the conference. They've got a 3-game lead on Gonzaga right now, I would guess, with 3 games left. And so they're going to be the regular season champion. St. Mary's is. I also think that St. Mary's will win that conference tournament too. I think they'll beat Gonzaga in the championship. Yeah. So I think St. Mary's is a team that possibly could be one that gets into that top 4. Who else do you think?
I think if Marquette makes some noise in the Big East tournament, definitely. But.
Yeah, because the only Big East team that either one of us mentioned was St. John's, and if whoever, as long as it's not a low seed that beats St. John's, whoever wins the Big East tournament, possibly I think could move into that top 16. And I agree, Marquette's probably the one with the best chance of doing that. At least being able to jump up enough seeds. I think there's been a lot of years where we've seen teams that were maybe a 5 or 6 seed jump 2 seed lines of what they're projected by, like Lenardi and Palm from CBS, because of how well they played in their conference tournaments. And in these this last week of the season, not all teams are going to have an opportunity to play a deep schedule. I think Texas Tech has a massive resume game on Saturday when they go to Allen Fieldhouse. Again, it could be a big game, resume game for Kansas too, if they can beat Texas Tech, who's ranked in the top 10 right now. But I think you could see some of these teams jump two seed lines, but they have to win their conference tournaments. Yeah. And so probably the best chance of teams that have doing that, I would say, are probably teams in the Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. Mm-hmm. One that I didn't put in that probably could definitely be in that you had ranked pretty high was Texas A&M. It would be pretty easy for me to see them do that. If they win their conference tournament, they're definitely going to be, I would say, no worse than a 3 seed and maybe even a 2 seed.
Maybe even a 1.
You think so if they win the SEC tournament? Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Hey, thanks for joining us. This is our first Powers of Madness bracket breakdown. And again, we'll try and do this a couple times a week, probably on either Sunday or Monday, probably on Sunday after the big Saturday games, and then again sometime either Thursday or Friday after the midweek games to try and see how these change. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.